Hey guys, this is Mathieu Frémaux aka Frameworks again for another cool MoglyphFX tutorial. In this one, we are gonna recreate a part of the introduction of the awesome Love, Death and Robots Netflix TV show, especially the way that the three glyphs are animated, just like in a slot machine where you can see the three cylinders with icons on it. Please note that I won't cover in this tutorial the glitchy transition part and the text of the title itself. I will just focus on how to recreate the glyph scrolling effect in 3 columns fully procedurally with MoglyphFX. This is not that easy to do, so this is why the tutorial is rather long. Sorry for that, but trust me, it's worth watching. So without any waiting, let's go ahead and get started. So create a new composition. I will make it a bit smaller here for the sake of the tutorial. And we are going to use the grid cloner again, which is the one I use the most in MoglyphFX. And for the sake of this first part, I will choose the iconic solid font from MoglyphFX. So this is this guy. Select it and click the grid cloner. But before that, we are going to hold down the Alt key. The shift key on your keyboard while clicking this guy. So if I hold down shift and click the grid cloner, usually the grid cloner is created in this direction, but now it's in this vertical direction. And this is great because now it has been turned by 90 degrees, which means that I will be able to play by line and in this direction here. So it's going to be really useful in the next section. Okay, so as you can see now, the layer has been turned at by 90 degree, and all the clones have been turned at minus 90 degree just by having hold down the shift key. So what you have to keep in mind is the first clone is here and the last clone is here at this time. So keep that in mind for later. Okay, so we are going to recreate the Love, Death and Robots series sequence from the series. So you only need 3 columns because there are usually 3 icons in this title sequence. So I will click on that and deploy this Moglyph cloner here and twill down the object section. And be careful because we have turned by 90 degrees the whole layer, so it's not the number of columns, but the number of rows here. Okay, so it's going to be, let's say, not 5 rows, but 3, because I just want 3 icons here. And I will leave with exactly, let's say, 5 columns. Yeah, it's going to be great. So we are gonna place this guy here at the center. We are going to mask out this section and make them appearing line by line like this, just like in this cool title sequence. So let's undo this. We are going to let it at the center of the comp for now. Okay, so now we are going to populate our cloner with random clones. How do we do this? I will select my layer again. I'm going to go to the Animate tab and click on Random here. But before that, yeah, I've forgotten to add 2 new clones because for now it's just a heart icon. I just don't want that. So in order to have the full range of available icons and glyph icons inside a whole 100 font, I need to do, let me show you that, select your layer and click on Add New Glyph from the Generate tab. And as you can see, a Moglyph font is made of exactly 100 different glyphs, but you can't really divide so it's difficult to explain, but you count on even number like 100, you can find an exact centered glyph here. So you'll have to divide your full range by 2 halves. Okay, so we are going to divide our 100 range by 250 range here. So this first half and this second half. And now you will be able to find a middle icon here. So I will choose the glyph number 25. I click on it, and the glyph number 75. Okay, this will be the 2 icons that are exactly at the middle of the 250 range. So let's create this one too, and you can close this window. So you have exactly, for the moment, 2 glyphs that are iterating each other in this grid. And now we can go in Animate tab and select your layer and click Random. Okay, so by default, the random effector will randomize the colors and the scale. This is not what I want. So let's click on Reset, and now you don't see anything, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is to go back to the Moglyph cloner, twill down the transform subgroup, and click on the fill color to colorize all the glyphs in a white color. Okay, and now in the effector random, what I'm going to do, since we have, again, this is a reminder, but we have created this glyph here and this glyph here, I want my random effector to go this way towards the last one, or this way towards the 51 glyph, and same for this guy, I want to go this way and this way, and to randomize icons in these 2 ranges. Okay, to do that, I will just go to my effector random, twill down the parameter subgroup, twill down the other, and let's go to the offset glyph, which is 0 by default, and type in exactly 25. Okay, so in this way, all the available icons will be found in the glyph panel, because the random effector can go 25 in this direction and 25 in this direction. Plus it will go from this one, minus 25 here, and plus 25 in this direction as well. So now if I play with the effector source, as you can see, I have the full range of available glyphs in my font, which is pretty cool. Okay, so next thing to do is to play with the random mode here, which is noise by default. I will choose random, and I don't want to animate this, so I will leave the animation speed not to 2 by default, but 0. Okay, so now I don't have any animation at all, which is exactly what I want. And now I can move my layer to the center of my comp from the bottom of my layer. And to do that, I will activate the transparency. And actually, no, I don't want to do that. I will show the title action safe grid instead, and I will move it with Shift holding down, okay, in order to center my, I want to center the very last row here in the comp. And now I can take my masking tool, so take your rectangle tool, and draw a mask, just like that, okay? Please ensure that you don't intersect with the previous icons, and don't crop the existing icons here. So this mask should work perfectly great. Okay, so now how do I animate this from these guys here to make this guy appear instead, and with this kind of jackpot, cylinders here. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, I will just use a new some new features that came with Moglyph 3.3 in the incredibly powerful delay effector. So to do that, I will click on my layer again, and I will select this option here because I want all the rows to behave one line by one line. Okay, I don't want to animate them by glyph but by lines. So I will select my layer and click on rows based animation instead of glyphs. Okay, and now if I have this option checked on, I can click on delay effector. As you can see, it has created my effector delay. And if I take a look at what happens, it makes this animation, which of course isn't what I want. Okay, because I want my glyphs to move this direction. And don't be confused, because don't forget that we had at the very first part of the tutorial, we had turned our grid by 90 degrees, as you can see here. So we are going to animate by line, and this is a line, this is a line. This is the first glyph, so this is the first row, the first line, the second line, and the third line. And by default, the effector delay, if you drill down the parameters transform, is animating with the position Y. So you would attempt to have your clones moving this way, but since the layer has been turned by 90 degrees, this isn't the correct axis anymore. So you have to zero out the position Y and just go further in your timeline in order to let the animation happen and see the end of the animation, and play with the position X instead. And now I can move them all at the same time in order to center the very first row, okay, in the center of the comp, like this. Okay, and now if I take a look at what happens with the animation, you can just make a quick preview. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. It's a bit too fast, and of course there are some problems. The first problem here is that, as you can see, this is the last on the right that is beginning, and this is not the case in the true title sequence. I want the exact opposite. So to fix this issue, because again this is the first glyph here and the first line, the second one and the third line in reality, because we have turned this to by 90 degrees by shift click on this guy at the beginning. So to fix this, we have to select our layer again, go to the effector delay and twill down the effector subgroup, twill down the animation order, and this is because by default it's based on ID order, but I want the opposite. So I will click on reverse. Okay, so click on reverse, and now if I make a preview, as you can see, the order is correct. Okay, cool. The last thing I want to do with my delay effector is to tweak the kind of animation, because now it's a bit too fast and I don't want this jiggly, springy motion here. So this is due to the animation remapping here. Twill down this option, and this is because, as you can see, this is based on elastic mode. I don't want that. I will change this remapping preset to be smooth. And this way, if I now make a quick preview, I have something that is more like in the original title sequence. It's way too fast for the moment, but if you select your layer and type U on your keyboard to display your keyframes, you can make your two keyframes way more slower. Sorry for that. And in this way, I have some animation that is now way slower. So yeah, something like this. And yeah, I like this kind of animation, way more realistic if regarding the true title sequence. And yeah, we are almost there. Cool. If you want to have some more inertia, you can deploy the smooth option here and play with the smooth iterations. By default, this is on 3, but you can exaggerate a bit the slowing down of the animation, and you can type in 4 or 5, for example, and yeah, this is a bit smoother, and you can exaggerate the slow, yeah, decrease the speed again. Okay, cool. And I would like to have a bit more time gap between each row, because it's all happening almost at the same time. And to do that, you just have to go to the animation order and just play with the offset setting here. By now it's on 2, but you can, let's say, add 4. And yeah, I like the way it behaves. Okay, pretty cool. This is exactly what I wanted to achieve with this kind of title sequence. And we have some things to tweak before leaving the tutorial. We are not there yet. Okay, so the foundation is here, but we have now to start with 3 exact icons that are exactly the one I want, because every Love, Death and Robots new episode begins with exactly the same 3 icons. And right now, if I play with the effector random and if I play with the source, it will change all the time. And this is not what I want. Okay, I want exactly these 3 to be exactly the ones I want. Okay, and not be randomized. And of course, if I have to create a true title sequence for a new episode for this series, I would have to choose the last 3 ones too. So I would have to change this guy, and this guy as well. So how do I do that? Well, let's start with the 3 glyphs from the start of the title sequence. So these 3 guys here. So I will twirl up this all these effects. I will select my layer again, go to animate. I don't want anymore to have this option checked on, and I will then click on this plane effector this time. And yeah, click on this. You should see all your clones, be pushed towards one side or the other and be colorized in red, but this is not what we want, of course. So I will twirl down the parameters, transform, and I will zero out the position Y, and I will choose which glyph I want exactly for this first guy here. So to do that, you can be helped by the glyph panel here. So you just have to select your layer again and click on add new glyph. And even if you don't add any new glyph, you can have a look at this grid here. If you hover with your cursor over a glyph, you will have a number that will appear. So let's say if you want this guy to be exactly, let's say, the heart icon, I have to choose the glyph number 1, as you can see. So let's do that. I will just go to my effector plane, twirl down the parameters, other, and I will this time not play with offset glyph, but modify glyph. Modify glyph means that it will force the clone to be exactly this number of glyph. So if I type 1, I will have some hertz. Okay, So this is exactly what I want, of course. I will temporarily disable my mask because I want to see what happens in my wall layer. And what I want is to select the range to affect only this guy here. And to do that, you will have to play with the fall off options, which are there. Okay? So just play with the completion from and the completion to until you find exactly the glyph you want, which is, in my case, of course, it's exactly the last glyph. So you can go towards the end of the range, but in order to ensure that you don't have any intermediary values, you will have to zero out the smoothness here. So by default it's on 100, but you have to zero it out in order to have a perfect cut transition here. Okay, so now if I play with different values of range here, I have some perfectly cut transition between glyphs. So now I have decided that this glyph was hurt. And this is cool because in the True Love, Death and Robots series, the very first icon would have been the hurt icon. Okay, the second would have been the death icon, and the third would have been the robots icons. Okay, so now that I've forced my clones to be like this, even if I play with the source of the random effector, this guy won't change anymore, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so now I'm gonna force my clone to be colorized like the other ones with white. And to do so, you just have to go to the parameters again, and in the style, you have just to click on this option here, colors from cloner. Okay? Okay. So now you could redo all this stuff manually by adding plain effector for each clone you want to force to have a specific glyph, but you can go a bit faster just by going down to your layer and twirling down your different groups here. And if you twirl down the text and the effects groups, let's make some room here, you can go in the effect group and take your effector plane and just duplicate it. And then, since you have already duplicated it with a new name, which is 2 here, this is this one. It's the exact same one than the one we have previously created with the hurt, but we will reuse it and change it to be this guy here. So now that I have recreated a new effector with a new name, I can then go to the text subgroup and duplicate my effector plane again, like this. If you don't respect this order, you would have a lot of expression error, because if you try to duplicate this one before duplicating in the effects group, you the expressions in this guy won't be found, okay, and you will have a lot of errors. Okay, so now in the effector plane 2, which is for this glyph here, we are going to choose a new shape. So select your add new glyph button again, and as you can see, I can now select another cool glyph. So for the sake of this tutorial, I will leave with I will stay with the iconic solid font. So I could use, for example, this nice diamond shape. So this is the glyph number 20. So let's close it. And if I twirl down in the effector plane to the parameters, if I twirl down the other, and if I type 20 instead of 1, I can see that now my heart has been changed by this diamond shape. But if I play with the fall off again, I can go with the completion from until I found this guy here, and I will adjust the completion to as well in order to just don't touch the glyphs from there. So I will decrease this until I have only this glyph affected by this effector plane 2. So this is cool. I can now work on the last one. And to do that, again, I will just stay in this timeline here. I will duplicate the effector plane 2 by Command D. And in the text subgroup, I can then duplicate it again. And now, if I open the glyph panel again, I can choose which shape it will be for this third one. Let's say I want, for example, this nice hand glyph. It's the glyph number, as you can see, 72. So close it. And in the effector plane 3, I can go in the parameters, other, and change the 20 by 72. And again, it has replaced the other one, but don't be afraid. You can just this time go to the fall off, and again, you just have to play with the range here from and to. So this is not this guy. Yeah, I want to have this one change only. So if I play with this value and find it, it works. I can, let's say, 32. And yeah, seems that it's working perfectly. This one is just randomized. So if I play with the randomize, yeah, as you can see, it will change all the glyphs except for the three ones I've forced to be others. Okay, so this is cool. And if I have now my mask that I reactivate like this, I can just preview my sequence, and yeah, this is pretty cool. Just imagine that you have the correct font with the love, death, and robots icons. That I will show you a way to recreate your own font in the second part of the tutorial. So don't be afraid. But now it's working perfectly great. And yeah, of course, if I had to create a true title sequence for Love, Death, and Robots, I would have to choose the and clones as well. So the three guys we are looking at this moment here, after the wall animation, should have been picked by you. Okay, you should be able to select which glyph this guy, and this guy should be. And again, we could do exactly what we have done until now for the first one. So we are going to again unmask it for the moment and twill down the layer text group and the effect group. And again, I will select your the very last effect and duplicate it again with Command D. This is the effector plane 4, and I can then duplicate the effector plane 3 in the text group as well. And now I can play with the plane 4 effector just to affect this house, for example, and click again on Add New Glyph and choose which shape you want for this guy here. It could be, for example, for a specific episode, this pine tree. Okay. And, oh, sorry, I've clicked. Sorry, I didn't intend to do that. I don't have to click on, I don't click on it. This isn't what I wanted. Don't click on that, okay? Just have a look at the number of this glyph. So this is in the glyph number 80. And in the effector plane 4, I can go in the parameters again, other, and change this value to be 80. And of course, for example, if I go back, it will replace the last added effector, which was this guy. But if again you play with the fall off, you have to find which is this guy here. So if I play with this, yeah, okay, and yeah, this is it. Perfect. Keep in mind that I had the hand as a third last glyphs here. So it has been added correctly. And again, if I want to do that for this guy here, I have to go to the layer effect group and duplicate the plane effector 4. It's now effector plane 5, and duplicate this guy in the text group again. And again, you just have to go to the add new glyph panel and select which shape you want for this one. So let's say you want this cool apple icon. So it's 59. So don't click on it again, it's 59. And yeah, just deploy the parameters group again, other, and change this value to be 59. And again, it will replace the previous one, and play with the fall off again until you find, yeah, this guy here, and play with the completion 2 in order to just have this guy becoming an apple. As you can see, this guy is an apple too, so this is not the correct value. So push this value a bit, and yeah, it's now working perfectly. And for the very last one, we are going to do the same thing. So duplicate the effector plane in the text, in the effect group, sorry, and same thing in the text group. And now we can twirl up this guy here to make some room. And again, select your layer again, click on add new glyph, and pick the glyph you want for the very last one. And in fact, it's the very first glyph of your text layer. So this is a glyph number 1, but I will replace it with another cool shape. Let's say, for example, this bell here. And this is a glyph number 81 in my case. So, sorry, I didn't intend to click on these guys. So undo this and just go over it, and yeah, it's number 81. And don't click on it, please. Close this guy and change this value of modify glyph there, and it will replace the other one. And play with the fall off, and again, this is the very first glyph, this one here. So if I go to 0 for completion from, and if I have a very small amount here, I should find the very first clone. So yeah, if I type, let's say 7, I have this guy changed like I wanted. And again, if I have a look at the whole layer, and if I play with the effector random source, as you can see, all the glyph will change except for the very first row, which is the end of my animation, and for the last row, which is the start of my animation. Okay, so now I can reactivate the mask. Okay, and now if I have a look at my animation, yeah, it works pretty quickly. I love the way it's animated, so great. And it's again fully procedural. So this is it for the this part. It's the whole setup, and we can make it a bit prettier just by pre-composing it. So I will pre-compose my composition, and I will rename it R from red, like a red. I will add this guy a fill effect by going there, right click, effect, generate fill, I will leave it as a red color. I will duplicate it again. I will rename it G, and I will change this color to be a perfect green, like this. Okay, I will turn its fusion mode to be on add, and I will duplicate it again and call it B, like blue. Okay, and this guy will have this color to be a perfect blue. Okay, 0, 0, and this value here. Okay, and now since this is on add fusion mode, you should end up with the same value, the same visual than before. But if you push this animation just one frame later for each layer, just like that, and if you play with the in point of your layer, just like this, you should have a really nice chromatic aberration effect. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And this is what gives this kind of Love, Death and Robots image treatment. In fact, it's way too much for me, for my taste, so I will undo that. And I will just play a bit with the stretch here. So I will change this value to be 101, okay, and this value to be 100,5. This is a really small amount of change, but it should be enough to be, yeah, as you can see, you have this nice glitchy look, but way smaller than before. So I love that. So if I make a quick preview, yes, this is cool. Of course, the idea is later to change the end icons, so the three guys here at the end, and to do so you just have to go back to there and change the numbers that are in the offset glyph, in the modify glyph, sorry, in the effector plane 6, 5, and 4. Okay, so if I change that, I can change the wall animation. I can go like that, for example, and yeah, this is the basic concept. And if you want to change the icons that you see during the animation in each row, you can randomize them again just by twirling down the effector random and play with the source here. Okay, and you will have something completely different. So it will start with the same icons again and finish with some new icons. And now you have different results each time you do so. So this is it. This tutorial is finished. I hope you have learned something new, especially some new Moglyph techniques. Of course, this whole title sequence will be so much more cooler, so much cooler, sorry, if you create some custom font with the Help Mat tab, Custom Font Creation Assistant. There is a tutorial about that, so don't hesitate to create your own font, to have some personalized glyphs. And yeah, this is it. I hope you like it, and if you love MoglyphFX, don't hesitate to spread your love and share and comment. And yeah, see you later for other cool stuff. Bye guys!